and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this video with me where I'm going to talk about a little presentation of this unified solar self. So as you know, I have a new consciousness course. It's on solar consciousness, and it's the 9th level of self-mastery journey. These are the courses that I was developing not just for our personal mastery, but those of you who also want to move beyond, to move into these realms of something that's more profound. That's this, I call this the cosmic servants in creation, and I made a video about this once. It's like all these aspects, all these different souls working together to serve the unity of source and all life in creation. As you know, I always tell you that myself, it's taken me a while on the physical plane in my earthly years to access the amount of understanding and knowledge that I have now. And even when I do, I have this feeling, wow, so much further to go to from here. Because I'm saying this because there's a lot of people who think that because you read a few books, you've done a little bit of the inner work, now this is as far as you're getting, and you have the understanding of the whole universe. It's not as simple. Even with the advanced new souls now, who are not really new in terms of not evolved, but they're new in the consciousness that they bring here, and I call these souls volunteer souls. Even these advanced beings, we need to go through preparatory schoolwork, and I made a video on the Earth Mastery School for volunteer souls. That's very important. But today I wish to tell you that it's really beautiful what I'm experiencing right now, and I'm going to share a little bit of my own personal story and background with you, and what I'm experiencing now, and how this relates to a bigger picture with all of us. Because it's getting more and more important to activate this knowledge through a direct source transmission. And each time I have my own personal sun, I have this relationship with the sun, it feels like I'm receiving in these tons of packages of light. I don't call them, you can call them downloads. For me, it sounds kind of new age. I call them these light packages that we're receiving. And I can't explain how this occurs for me, this process. But it's this huge unpacking that occurs. It feels to me like something just landed on me, and it's huge. And for a while, it feels like this overwhelming, stimulated feeling, like it's all already as it is. It's all created. I already know it all. I see it. I see it in my. It's in my feeling. It's in my mind's eye. I know what I need to create, and yet the human self needs to integrate that. It needs to turn that into words, because when the knowing that I receive is so direct, sometimes it's hard to put into words. And for me, I'm working with big, vast light packages, because my mission as the creation pillar has always been very intense. And I'm going to share a little bit with you how this was for me. And this unpacking, sometimes we have this tendency, and I do myself, I'm so fueled with fire and constantly creating, and yet at times it feels like, wow, what is this feeling? It's so overwhelming. It's so much coming and pouring through at once. But the application through the physical body, sometimes it has to occur through stages, because when I feel overwhelmed, it's the feeling of, I already know this is so, I already know it's already created, because it is, and the spirit truth, it's created already. That's why I receive it like this already whole, completely into itself, self-sustained package of light. But then I must turn it into the human form. I need to translate it into words. I need to make it into a project, product, whatever it is, or into a course. And this takes time. And the overwhelming feeling comes from this, the lack of understanding of this physical realm. For a lot of us, it's hard here on Earth, because we're used to things being, produced as consciousness. We're working with this greater consciousness. And I was just reading these books from The Destiny of Souls from Newton, Dr. Newton, and he was explaining this process, exactly how we create as souls. But here in the physical, many times this is not always seen or understood in that way. And for many of us, this will be an intense process. For me, it's always been hard to decipher this, this hyperactivity, all that, so much energy I've been feeling, and then how much I can produce it as a human being. And a lot of times I've been trying to catch up with that, and it's been intense. Many times it's been even you know, burning out in my physical body, because I wasn't always understanding, okay, the physicality is a slow sometimes and steady translation of that. And I think a lot of that work, watch my video on the Saturn conjuncting the galactic center now. People say Saturn, oh yuck, you know, the karmic lord teach you, you know. Saturn is so important, it's so vital for our initiations, because Saturn makes us grow and mature through that. It makes us have this initiations that make us these steady pillars, these self-empowered beings. We don't, you know, we know how to work with our energy management. We don't give our energy away. We become these matured beings. And that's why Saturn for me is deeply important. And I think it when I have, I don't know, personal transits moving through. And, you know, I'm a Sagittarius rising in 13 degrees. It's my ascendant, and yet now, you know, it's been, Saturn has been moving through Sagittarius for such a long time, and been constant initiation after the other for me. But it made me grow so much that I couldn't imagine without it. Even when we have a Saturn return, and you know, in this book from Newton, he said he does not take younger clients than 30, because, you know, usually that's when we have our Saturn return, the first one. And he said we need a certain level of maturity on the physical level so that the soul energy can start being fused proper way, and we have a bigger understanding of who we are. For me, it was the same. After my Saturn return, things were just like catapulted into this vast open space that sometimes for me it's still incomprehensible. Sometimes I'm just grasping for air, going like, what, how do I know these things, what's this, what's that, what? But it feels like it's such a straight direct knowledge, and yet it feels like, okay, here is a pathway. And that's what I think Saturn comes into, and it's so important. Saturn initiates through that, understanding the laws of time, that everything needs its structure, it needs patience, everything needs to be worked from a proper angle. So I wish to share this thing with you. But first I want to say why it's so important. Soul age versus age. Not when we consider someone saying, okay, you're young, so, you know, we consider you as young, when we treat you as young, and there's an old evolved or even a master soul there sitting in this young body. But still, there is an importance of going through initiations, and even in many of the Gospels, like Joshua had to go through his initiations, and was occurring in his own maturity, and it had to, you know, be done and dealt with in that way. That's how we go through. I went through that process myself in my own inner journey. I didn't have specific teachers because that was my path. My higher self was teaching me all this time. And I had companions, and I had those, what I call, who we formed through different alliances and groups on a soul level. Like for me, it was always the White Brotherhood, those of us who serve the white light of creation and unity consciousness. And it was so important to feel like a part of this council, and yet to feel that, to be humbled on earth, because on earth I need to go through various stages and developments in this growth process. So it is important also, our earth age, not to be too self-conceited and too self-confident. Now we know everything. I see sometimes a lot of young ones who say, I'm a starseed, I don't need to do anything, you know, I'm this, you know, I've touched a bull by its horns. Yes, that's kind of attitude that's not really desired in true self-realization journey and pathway of knowing your core. So this story of mine, it began with a dream today. I started noticing a while ago, I was noticing that now this full moon, which we're undergoing now, is happening exactly in 22 degrees of Virgo. And guess what? My sun in my birth natal chart is exactly in 22 degrees of Virgo in the 9th house. And I was like, wow, now moon is full in these exact degrees, so that is the opposite of that, right? Because now the sun is in 22 degrees of Virgo, which is the exact opposition of Virgo. And then that night, just before that moon, I had this dream, and it showed me that this is kind of like my birthday in a way. It showed me like this maturation, and I was like going through this processing of the understanding why this is so important for me. And then I woke up, I wrote a few things down. I'm like, okay, you know, that's fine. I went for a run, and then I sat outside. I had one of these, which I call like a ton of bricks falling on me, but it's not heavy, it's just overwhelming. It's a ton of bricks of light in that quotient, if I can call it like that. And then I went further, and then I went walking here on the hill, and I wanted to write all these things down. It was so much. It's when I go for a run, for me, it's not like just like this, you know, looking, you know, around. Sometimes it is, you know, but I have very few moments when I literally am blank, you know. Sometimes I say intentionally, I want to be blank today. Don't give me anything. I don't want to, you know, I want to be just enjoying the human part of me so my body can rest. And I have a few days like that, and I feel blank. And when I'm blank, I go like, why am I blank now? Please, I'm not receiving it. You know, like the human level is never the right? It's never the right thing. But I want to say is that through this, what they showed me as my birth, in a way, like a birthday, showed me like a completion, because now moon is full in that state. It felt like a ripening of something, and this dealt with this maturation journey. That's what I was shown. And so, um, during that day, I felt like this constant upliftment, one after the other. It felt like this instant pouring and knowing, which I always had, but it was stronger, it was more intense. And I was asking myself, what is this? It's so much pouring through. I don't even, I'm not even sure I can write it all down, because it was a knowing of how it is, and yet it was, you can't put it always in words. It was just like I thought of something and the knowing was direct. I thought of this was direct. I knew exactly which courses I need to do what, and it was so much. And these things, if we're not mature enough, they can overwhelm us. It can be felt like very intense. We have to know how to unwind with this and take it with ease and openness, and knowing that it will be all coming in the right proper moment into embodiment when it's time. But I was shown that it's different because of this, what I spoke about in the March video. The theme, the topic, if you remember, was the crystallized soul unification, and I've talked about this. I have a solar consciousness mastery course where I explain this unification process, also through the understanding of the sun, the solar logos, the principle of the solar logos, the understanding of these different stations in our solar system, what they are, how they connect to the other dimensions, how everything is interconnected. I explain all of that from a perspective of consciousness, to make you tune into how everything always works for your self-realization journey. And this crystallization is a process that when you're ready, when you're mature, it occurs. It's like this membrane of light finally comes together, and it's firm and it's solid. There's no more fractions in between, and you're ready to, what I was shown, directly received. It's a direct transmission. I had this feeling. I just looked at the sun and I had a knowing. I thought of something. The knowing was there. Like, wow, what is this? I always had this experience, but it was much more firm and solid that I could grasp on this before. And I was shown that this is because I worked on the solar consciousness course. This is the feeling of it. This is how it feels like. So perhaps I did not include that so much in the course through my direct experience, because it came just a few days after. But it was this graduation point that they showed me. When I say that, them, it means my greater soul complex. So this activation was very important for me. And then I wrote something down which applies to all of us. This synthesis I already spoke of in the March video. Go to that Ascension update. This is when the final understanding of who you are occurs. It's like different individualizations and different specializations we have taken on as a soul, but that unifying is that ray that you've always existed within, and that core alignment, and that specifically is for you who you are. And for me, as I've spoke about this before, this mission of being a creation pillar, I can filter it. Even if I read a book and something really resonates, I will kind of extract that which is important for me, because it's a direct transmission. Even if you're reading the external source, even if you're whatever you're doing, but you're still directly receiving from that pure transmission. That's that state of solar consciousness, and that's why I wanted to show in my course. Please consider taking the course. It's fun as well. I show some of the beautiful phenomena in the solar system as well, kind of like a part of the bonus for this understanding. So this synthesis that occurs, this is what I've spoke about in terms of our personal embodiment. This is this feeling you have of being this direct transmission, like a recipient, a body. You are a vessel for pure spirit here. You are a vessel of that light, how it wants to move out and move towards the greater potential. And you can receive a knowing of what already is. If that's for me a course I'm developing, I can see it, I can feel it, I know that it's there. I have no doubt. It's like it's there, it's existing, and the spirit's already created. And then you also learn how to trust the process. So I've developed first 7 courses, which are more like personal soul mastery, and then the other ones are more advanced. There's 2. The third one is coming now, is the tantrika level, which is I'm gonna show to you, share with you, teach you a little bit about how you will become a self-regenerating based being who's going to be completely self-sufficient, self-sustaining. You will nurture yourself from that core, able to give birth to life. And I'll give you one example right now through my own case. So with this synthesis and this crystallization, you can easily now tune into this sense of your translation, what you're here to translate. That's that self-realized state many have already spoken about. So you're no longer that much swayed from the outer things. People can still come. They will. You're on Earth. They will still tell you, I want this. Could you do this? You know, da da da. But you are going to exist in this. You're like the sun, right? The sun shines. You know, planets revolve around it. You become like things revolve around you, but you're still self-revolving light, right? You are that spiraling consciousness, that seed, and it's fully blossomed now. It's fertilized with that light. Um, that will be now, this full understanding of who you are will start being felt in your form and understanding. And for me, in order for me now, what I felt was to even write my book, you know, on the mission of volunteer souls, and what I'm going to produce now, these more advanced courses. I'm also working on the Galactic Signature Level 2 course, which will go much more deeper than the first one. These are the things I'm working for, and they're parallel. So imagine you as one being. It's like, I'm like in this tiny body. That's how you will feel yourself. And you feel like you hold this vastness of what you're creating in the bigger sense, your bigger self level. And then it's important to learn how to translate it in your human form. What's important? It's not a linear path. Okay, now I will do this. I just do this. We're no longer like that. You're doing it in parallel. You can do many different things at once. But this consciousness, this higher will flow through you. What's more important, where the potential is now. And you're going to work with that. And then you're going to work with this perhaps. But it's a synthesized process. So for me, I had to come into this state now of this crystallized soul union before I could even write the book. I had a short pause, like for 2 weeks. I couldn't, over a week and a half. My body was so tired. And then today with this wave and my kind of like graduated birthday is what they're showing me, it felt like it needed to be this way. Because now it's even higher level of, not higher, more synthesized. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. It's more like working as a holistic unit now. So you're no longer taking little fragments from the knowledge here, little from there. It's almost like, you know, I'm going to give you my example. I love tarot. I love studying tarot. I love, you know, working with tarot. I love these multidimensional things. I love, you know, the things that developing through astrological views. I love mastery. I love the Ascension path. I love all of these things. They're all coming through me. But I no longer feel them as separate. They're starting to unify, and this is what this is. This is this level. And if you're feeling that, please consider taking the the framework of my course, because even though you might perceive it more as consciousness based, it will produce growth for you. When I was receiving this, and now I went through this stage myself, I know it was also part of what they were preparing me through this course. So this unification is this fully direct receiving state of our solar consciousness, this expansion, this level. Like I said, today I looked at the sun. I just had this knowing, and I was shown, because I always wake up after sometimes periods of my body being so tired and so much integration happening, and I don't always even know all of the things that are happening on the bigger level, bigger, more expanded levels. But then today I just looked at the sun, and I talk about this personal development and your own relation to the sun, because you become as that. It was like an instant direct transmission. There's no filters. It's just so pure. And the trust, the level of that integrity of your trust is so in alignment with that. And I was instantly shown how this, what I feel in these days when the energy is like, wow, everything's open, new gateway, wow, it's amazing. How's this feeling? Everything's swirling around, and butterflies and bees were sitting on me. I was like, what is this? I'm like sitting in this vortex. And then Spirit said, yeah, you created it. I'm like, how? How did I create it? And then I was instantly, it's hard to explain this instant download transmission, because if you haven't experienced it yourself yet, you can't know. That's why I provide these courses for you, to help you open the gateways like keys, that humanity is now able to access those souls who are really moving into this path and devoting to that level of more expanded ET consciousness. It's not just Earth linear, period. That's where it all ends. It's so vast, so much vaster. There's so many vast interests we can have now. The world is our oyster, it's playground. It's all so juicy. It's so much to explore, right? So much potentiality, and that's how I feel every day. So when I wake up like this, I'm like, what is this? But it's different. And then it was an instant knowing that I And those who work for this, it's a group effort. But my group, it said, you created this. Like, how did I create this? And it was instantly shown that all those periods when we're processing, when we're tired, sometimes I can just lie in bed. I'm like, I can't really create much. I can write my book. I can do this, in terms of what I do in the physical. But that's when our souls are using a lot of this energy to go into this integration process. And me as a creation pillar, we do that. We create this new energy. And years ago when I asked, I said, what's my primary soul name as in terms of the purpose? They said the giver of life. And I did not understand it at all. I have to be honest. I'm like, how can I give life? Who gives life? God gives life, right? Yes, but we are all part of that source self. And if you read any of the books on these structures of souls and their specializations, what they're creating, just yesterday we were reading in the Newton's book how they're creating different animal species, right? Different species for different planetary systems or atmospheres. Souls are all creating that. And today I was shown that pillars, or what I call the creation angels, they're the holders of these sacred records of how these principles through which then all this life is created, and these life forms, the template is always the same. And then through this individualization process, it's being altered and modified. Different planetary structures, different stations of light, different experiments with life. It's beautiful. Creation is vast and amazing, and how what we can all explore and create within it. And I was shown this is my main core is being the holder of these principles. And then all life moves through them. So that's where we're able to create these things, to create this new energy. We birth it into form. Don't ask me how. As a human, I don't have all the knowledge. But if you read the books, there's many souls who hear, they seem to be having ordinary lives, but then they share what they're doing on a soul level, what they're creating. They could go like, what is this? So what we do on earth does reflect that. But we're not just one thing. I love teaching. I love teaching about these things, but I don't consider myself a teacher. I feel that's one tiny % of me, and there's so many other aspects, and we gather those archetypes more and more. We're able to, like I said, this multidimensional nature and the synthesized nature is created. So I was shown that this stage now, and if you're experiencing this is for you as well, is so important for us to move into the complete soul unification and specialization in order to start working from that core level in our mission and devote our life fully to that. Here on, different things will just start disappearing. Perhaps some things you wanted to still do as a human, you're going to more and more perhaps feel that's not for me. I clearly had a few messages now. I wanted to do some things and Spirit said, not for you. I was like, I wanted that so badly. And then I felt myself, who inside me is asking this question? Who really wants this? Which aspect? And it was just gone. I no longer had the desire. The more I'm devoting myself to this higher calling, these desires of the lesser nature, they're dissolving. Not going away, they're just dissolving, they're unifying. The dissolution process is actually the unification process. They move and melt into the greater sphere. Perhaps someone else in the soul group would now have this experience. Perhaps it does not need to be directly me, the nature of the soul is so mysterious, it's so mystical, it's beautiful. Because of this devotion, things are unifying. Everything that leads us to this path, towards this pivotal moment when you have this graduation process, is a result of those multidimensional aspects we were integrating and taking in, particular specializations like, okay, you do study tarot, you do something with nature, like plant things or whatever. But these things then start to work together. They start making more and more sense, more and more sense. They're coming together, and yet the unification is the expansion. So it comes together and then it expands, like a supernova. I explained that in the course as well, the nature of supernova, what that is from a spiritual perspective. So to self-sustain in the essence of the core self level is this pathway. And like I show you, this is important, this direct transmission. You will feel it, you will know it. Even if you're reading something on the outside, it will not be that exact thing you're reading, but it will be an activator for that which comes directly as a parallel to that experience. So how do we birth new energy? For me, that experience is, I don't share this with people most of the time, but besides all the work I do, which sometimes people say that's a lot, I also have periods of extreme exhaustion in my body. And then I'm asking myself, well, how does the body get exhausted? It's the soul is the soul is this energy, can move and do things. It's like that wouldn't cause the depletion of the body, or for body to feel exhausted. And I was running today, and Spirit said, well, yeah, it's not the soul, it's the body that then receives all of that, which the soul creates as this new energy. So the physicality is that densest aspect, and for us to shift that, it takes time. But the process of your awareness, how the consciousness perceives, can unify, and it will unify for those of you who are going into the stream of into this pathway. So yeah, is anything else to say that I've told you about holding this knowledge, so that those who then create from it create through these basic creation principles. And you have many of these hypnotic regression books when it's explained how souls create different learning stations, different schools of mastery. It's amazing. It's wow. So yes, souls create life forms in the vastness of life, time and space. But we work now with consciousness. We work very much with the understanding of who we are, what we are here. Just yesterday, after reading the book, we had a talk, and I look at my mother and I say, you know what? It's so funny because so many people still want to understand everything, and everyone else perhaps, but you never can understand anyone else. The only mission you've ever had was to develop the uniqueness of your sovereign soul nature and expand through these schools and these gateways you've experienced, and to master that which you then can pass on for the whole. That's how life functions. And when you know that core, you have that knowing, you have that self-realization that it's such a firm feeling. It's like wherever you are, you're never lost. Wherever you go, you're always home. And it feels like this amazing knowing that all you've ever had to do is research into the self and things that really, really pull you magnetically, because that is already the domain of your soul. That's all you've ever had to do. So I talk a lot about that and the nature of the core creation self. You can visit my page, Serapina Light. There's a few writings about that. Also my videos, or tune into my courses, the classes that were all designed to help you on this path. You can also support my work or the writing of my book. There was a slight pause, but I'm returning now, so perhaps for a while I will less periodically start doing the videos, so I can really do more of that. It's not something you can do in 1 month and it's over. It's a process. Lots of work goes into it. So if you want to support, you can donate or go visit my Patreon page to become my sponsor. I love you so much. I'll talk to you soon, and I hope you have a beautiful time with contemplating on all these things and your own personal experiences. As always, what I share is meant as an initiative to help you tune into where you are, to recognize perhaps things that sometimes people say, things I cannot verbalize, you help me with. And I'm honored if you share your feedback of your experience of what I share with you. So thank you, and I'm greeting you from this beautiful sunny space here in the Alps. As always, love, wisdom, and power. I'll talk to you soon. Have fun.